Welcome to the deep dive. We're getting straight into something pretty fundamental today, something I think everyone feels, right? That desire for, well, more love, more abundance, just feeling truly well.
Absolutely. It's universal.
But here's the question we're tackling. What if attracting all that stuff, the things you really want, isn't about chasing it out there?
What if it's about shifting something inside?
Exactly.
That's the core of what we're exploring today. We're doing a deep dive into Dr. Joe Dispenza's work,
Hmm.
looking at his interviews, his research.
Yeah.
And the mission here is to unpack how our thoughts, our feelings, actually literally shape our reality, how you can become the deliberate creator of your life.
Not just reacting to it.
Precisely. Not just a victim of circumstance.
So think of this as maybe a shortcut, a way to really grasp that connection between what's going on in here
Your inner world.
and what shows up out there, your experiences. We want to give you those aha moments, but also, real takeaways.
Things you can actually do.
Right. So whether it's a relationship you're looking for, or maybe financial freedom, or even just like a deeper sense of everyday joy, this is for you.
Okay, let's get into it. The foundational idea. You are a creator, not a victim.
Huge concept. How does he break that down?
It starts with this principle. Every thought you have carries an electrical charge, like a little signal,
Okay, an electrical signal.
and every feeling that has a magnetic charge, an attractive force.
Electrical thoughts, magnetic feelings.
And they work together. They're not just happening in your head. They combine to broadcast this electromagnetic signature.
Like a personal frequency.
Exactly like that. And this isn't just a nice metaphor. He suggests this is actual physics at the quantum level. This signature you're sending out is influencing everything around you, drawing things to you.
So my thoughts and feelings are literally pulling experiences towards me.
That's the idea. It dictates what atoms, what events, what experiences you attract or repel.
Wow. Okay, that really flips the script on how we usually think about things. So the victim mindset versus the creator.
Well, the victim state is what most people honestly live in most of the time without realizing it. Your feelings, your thoughts are dictated by the outside world.
Like traffic makes me angry, my boss praises me, I feel good, that kind of thing.
Exactly. You're reacting.
Yeah.
But the creator state,
Mm-hmm.
that's about intentionally shaping your inner state first.
Yeah.
You decide how you want to feel, what signal you want to send out, regardless of external circumstances.
You're generating the feeling first to influence the outside.
Yes. And there's a scientific basis for this. It's not just woo-woo. Think back to the 1940s. There was this Yale researcher, Dr. Harold Burr,
Right. I read about that. He studied electromagnetic fields.
around all living things, unfertilized eggs, plants, salamanders, humans. He found consistent positive and negative charges, creating a measurable magnetic field.
Even in an egg, a consistent field.
So if an egg has this field, imagine the complexity and power of the field generated by our human thoughts and emotions.
It's taking that basic biological principle and scaling it up to our consciousness.
Precisely. Our internal state, our whole inner world, is generating this dynamic, powerful field around us.
Which leads us to the big problem then. Why aren't more people consciously creating their lives if this is true?
Because most of us are trapped. Trapped in the past, living in what Dispenza calls survival mode.
Survival mode, that sounds intense, but also kind of familiar.
It is familiar. It's being conditioned to constantly react to the environment. You're running on stress hormones, anger, hostility, judgment, fear. These are survival emotions.
Keeping you alert, ready for danger, even when there isn't any real danger.
Right. And it's deeply linked to memory. Think about really strong emotional events from your past.
Yeah.
A trauma, a betrayal, maybe even intense fear.
Okay.
Those create long-term memories. But here's the kicker. Every time you recall that memory, your brain chemistry, your body chemistry fires off exactly as if the event is happening right now.
Wait, so if I think about that argument I had yesterday, my body is literally reliving the stress of it.
Yes. The same chemicals.
Yeah.
The same physiological response. You're conditioning your body emotionally into the past. That past trauma isn't just a thought. It lives in your body.
Ah, wow. That explains why it's so hard to just get over things sometimes. It's physically ingrained.
It is physically ingrained. And the consequences of living like that, constantly in survival, they're huge.
Like what?
Well, for one, it drains your energy. All the body's resources go towards emergency preparedness.
Yeah.
There's very little energy left for growth, for repair, for creativity.
So you're basically wearing yourself down.
You're weakening the whole organism. It makes it hard to be open, vulnerable, creative. You're just trying to survive.
And what feels normal, that baseline anxiety or frustration a lot of people carry.
That's actually an altered state. It's an imbalance. It's your body stuck in the past, hindering your potential right now.
It's like your own biology is working against the future you want because it's programmed by the past.
That's a good way to put it.
Hmm.
And this ties directly into what he calls the old model of reality.
Yeah.
Newtonian thinking.
Cause and effect. Simple, linear.
Right. People wait for something outside to happen so they can feel different inside.
I'll feel loved when I find the right partner.
I'll feel abundant when I get the raise.
They need the external cause to produce the internal effect, the feeling.
Exactly. Love or abundance becomes the end product of an external event. You're trying to fix the feeling of lack by manipulating the outside world.
Which is exhausting and often doesn't work that well, does it?
It takes a lot of energy and time, trying to control matter with matter.
Okay, so if that's the problem, being stuck in survival, waiting for the outside to change, what's the solution? How do we actually shift this?
This is where the quantum model comes in,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a big shift in thinking.
Okay, I'm ready.
To create the future you want, you have to feel the emotion of that future before it happens.
Feel it now, as if it's already here.
Yes, you generate the feeling of love or abundance or wholeness first. You don't wait for the reason.
Yeah.
You become the reason.
So instead of waiting for a relationship to feel love, I feel love to attract the relationship.
That's the core of it. It's about cultivating what Dispenza calls elevated emotions.
Like gratitude, joy.
Love, kindness, appreciation, awe. These aren't just nice feelings. Practicing them actively changes your energy, your electromagnetic signature.
And this change starts somewhere specific, right? He talks a lot about the heart.
He does. The heart is central. When you genuinely feel these elevated emotions, your heart physically responds. Its rhythm becomes coherent, organized,
Not chaotic and stressed, but smooth and powerful.
like a steady drum beat. And this coherent heart sends a powerful rhythmic signal up to the brain.
It's like the heart is talking to the brain.
It's informing the brain, telling it, hey, it's safe now, we're not in danger. This helps the brain shift out of survival mode and into more creative states.
You mentioned alpha brainwaves.
Coherent alpha, yes, that's a state of imagination, creativity, light meditation. The internal chatter quiets down. The brain becomes more receptive to new possibilities.
It sort of resets the baseline away from stress and trauma.
Exactly. And then there's this other piece about the heart, which is, well, it's pretty amazing.
The magnet thing.
The magnet thing. An activated, open, coherent heart produces a measurable external magnetic field. It can extend up to 3 meters, like 9 feet around your body.
3 meters, that's huge.
It is. And this field, generated by your heart, is your primary center of creation. It's your magnet.
So the feeling, the elevated emotion, creates this powerful magnetic field.
And that field carries the thought, your clear intention, the blueprint of the future you want, the frequency of the feeling, draws the experience to you.
It's a vibrational match. The feeling is the magnet. The thought directs it.
You got it. Which brings us to a crucial point. Creating from wholeness, not from lack or need.
Right. If I'm feeling needy, like I need this relationship, that's the wrong signal.
It's a signal of lack. It has a different frequency. It's grasping, controlling. But when you cultivate those elevated emotions, when you feel so whole, so complete, so in love with life right now.
That you don't need anything because you already feel full.
Exactly. You're operating from wholeness. You are love. You are abundance already. And from that state, you naturally magnetize experiences that match that wholeness.
Yeah.
Draw them in effortlessly.
Okay, this makes sense conceptually, but the big question is always, how? How do you actually do this day to day? What's the practical formula?
Right, the practice. It usually involves a kind of meditation or mental rehearsal. The first step is crucial. You have to disconnect.
Disconnect from what?
From the usual suspects. Close your eyes, sit still, take your attention off your physical body, off your environment, the room you're in, the sounds, and off the predictable future or the familiar past.
So basically, stop focusing on everything that usually defines yourself.
Precisely. You're getting beyond your identity that's tied to the external world. You're moving into the unknown, the quantum field where all possibilities exist.
Okay, disconnect. Then
you relax into the present moment, what he calls the sweet spot of the generous present moment. Just being here now, not analyzing, not worrying.
says present.
Then bring your awareness to your breath. Slow it down consciously. Slower breath equals slower brainwaves.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, put your attention on your heart. Center yourself there.
Initiating that heart coherence we talked about.
Yes, building that organized energy field.
And then you bring in the feelings.
Then you consciously cultivate those elevated emotions. You practice feeling gratitude, feeling love, feeling kindness, feeling joy. Really generate the feeling in your body.
Even if your external life doesn't seem to justify it in that moment.
Especially then. You're generating the state first. That's the whole point.
Okay. And as you do this, your brain changes.
Your brainwaves slow down. You move from stressed beta into relaxed alpha, that creative, imaginative state where the inner critic gets quieter.
Easier to imagine new possibilities.
Much easier. And with practice, you might slip into theta. That's a deeper, almost hypnotic state. The door to the subconscious is open.
So that's where you can really reprogram old beliefs and habits.
That's the prime state for it. You're highly suggestible to yourself, essentially. And some people even experience bursts of high-frequency gamma waves.
Which are associated with what?
Bliss, ecstasy, peak experiences, moments of profound insight, and sometimes significant biological upgrades or healing.
And during this whole process, there's an energy shift happening.
A big one. Remember that energy trapped in the body from past survival emotions?
Yeah, stuck in the lower centers.
As you do this practice, especially focusing on the heart and elevated emotions, that stored energy gets liberated. It moves up from the body into the heart and brain.
Like fuel for creation and healing.
Exactly. You're reclaiming your own energy from the past and making it available for your future.
This sounds like where remembering your future comes in.
Yes. Once you're in this elevated, coherent state, you mentally rehearse the future you want. Who do you want to be in that future? What does it feel like?
You're imagining it so clearly.
That you prime your brain. You install the neurological circuits, the hardware, as if the experience has already happened.
So the brain starts to believe it's real.
And then the body, the objective physical body, starts to change its biology to match that neurological blueprint.
Yeah.
It prepares itself for that future reality.
Okay, but let's be real. This can't be easy. Your old self, your old programming must fight back.
Right. Oh, absolutely. That's a key part of the process. You have to become conscious of those unconscious thoughts, those automatic habits, those knee-jerk emotional reactions that keep you tethered to the past.
They'll pop up during the meditation.
They definitely will. Doubts, frustrations, familiar anxieties, they'll surface. The work is to notice them without reacting emotionally and returning to your practice.
And learning to, what did you call it? Shorten the refractory period.
Right. That's the skill.
Yeah.
How quickly can you recognize you're having an old emotional reaction and consciously shift out of it? It's not about never feeling anger or fear again.
It's about not letting it run the show for hours or days.
Exactly. You acknowledge it, maybe understand its root, but then you consciously choose a different state. You choose your future over your past.
And it's going to feel uncomfortable sometimes.
Often. You're literally stepping out of the familiar, even if the familiar is miserable, into the unknown. That space between the old self and the new self feels uncertain, awkward, maybe even scary.
But pushing through that discomfort is where the change happens.
That's where the magic is. It's breaking the habit of being your old self. Persisting through that is crucial.
And this ties into changing core beliefs too, doesn't it? Like, I'm not good enough or it's too hard.
Definitely. Beliefs are just thoughts you've thought and felt repeatedly until they became subconscious programs. This whole process helps you become aware of them, consciously unwire the limiting ones.
And rewire new, empowering ones that align with your desired future.
Until eventually, that new belief becomes the dominant voice in your head. Feels more natural than the old limiting one.
Okay, powerful stuff. Let's bring this down to earth a bit. How does this whole framework apply specifically to relationships? That's a big one for people.
Huge. And Dispenza asks a really potent question here. He says, ask yourself honestly, would you go out with you?
Oof. That requires some serious self-reflection, doesn't it?
It really does. Are you bringing the qualities to the table that you're looking for in someone else? He also suggests that healthy relationships shouldn't feel like constant hard work.
What does he mean by that?
If it always feels like a struggle, like you're constantly trying to fix things or change the other person, maybe that's a sign something's off energetically. Maybe the focus needs to shift back to working on yourself, on becoming your best self.
So instead of trying to change your partner,
Be that change yourself. Show up happy. Show up whole. Show up embodying those elevated emotions. That's way more inspiring and magnetic than preaching or complaining.
your transformation becomes the invitation for them to transform too, maybe.
Potentially. Or it helps you attract someone who's already aligned with that higher state. It also requires often unconditional love and forgiveness,
Meaning,
letting others be who they are without needing them to change for you to feel okay.
hmm.
And forgiveness. It's not really about the other person. It's about releasing those old emotional charges tied to past hurts.
So you free up your energy.
Exactly. You take your power back from the past event or person. A memory without the emotional charge attached is just wisdom.
Okay, that makes sense for relationships. What about abundance? Money, success, all that.
Similar principles apply. He challenges the idea that money itself is the ultimate goal.
Hmm.
Often, money is just a symbol for what people really want, like freedom or security
Right.
or the ability to make an impact.
And chasing money just for money's sake.
He calls that the lowest denominator of creation. It can lead to having wealth but still feeling miserable or empty because you haven't cultivated the inner state of abundance first.
So it's about your relationship with money.
Yes, developing a healthy one. Connecting money to your values, to the joy of giving, to the feeling of wholeness, not lack. Truly abundant people often give freely
Why? Because they're not afraid of running out.
because they know how to create more. They operate from an internal state of no lack. Their sense of abundance isn't dependent on the external number in their bank account.
And this connects back to attracting versus chasing.
Absolutely. When you operate from that quantum model, from wholeness, from elevated emotion, you start attracting opportunities, synchronicities, resources. They seem to come to you,
Instead of constantly grinding, chasing, forcing things in the material world.
which takes so much time and energy, right?
Yeah.
You're working matter to matter. The quantum approach is creating energy to matter. It's more efficient, often feels more magical.
So even if someone operating from this place experiences a financial setback,
It's seen more as a lesson, feedback, an opportunity to create again from a new place. It doesn't trigger that deep fear of lack because their source isn't external, it's internal. They know they can generate abundance again.
wow. Okay, we've covered a huge amount of ground here today. Let's maybe try and recap the key stages of this journey we've explored.
Sounds good. We started with that universal desire, right? For love, abundance, well-being. And the idea that the key isn't out there, but in here.
And then the core principle. Thoughts are electrical, feelings are magnetic. Together they create your reality. Shifting from victim.
To creator. Understanding you're broadcasting a signal.
We looked at the problem, being stuck in survival mode, running on past emotions, weakening the body, stuck in that old cause and effect model.
Waiting for the outside to change the inside.
And then the solution, the quantum model, feeling the emotion of your future now, cultivating elevated emotions.
Using the heart's coherence to inform the brain, moving into creative states, becoming a magnet for your desired future by operating from wholeness.
And we walk through the practical steps. Disconnect, present moment, breath, heart, elevated emotions, moving through brainwave states, reprogramming.
Remembering your future, becoming conscious of the old self, shortening that refractory period and pushing through the discomfort of change.
And finally, how this applies to transforming relationships being the example. Forgiveness and abundance attracting from wholeness, not chasing from lack.
So the invitation, really, the challenge for you listening,
Yeah.
is to treat this as your own personal experiment.
Yeah, don't just take our word for it or Dr. Dispenza's word. Try it. See what happens.
Can you consistently cultivate those elevated states? Can you focus your energy on the future you want rather than the past you don't?
And just observe. Does your outer world start to shift? Does it begin to reflect the changes you're making inside? Because the ultimate takeaway seems to be nothing changes until you change your energy.
That's the essence of it.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. True love, true joy, true abundance. Maybe they aren't things you find or achieve out there.
Maybe there are states you generate within.
Yeah.
And the real journey, the real deep dive, is about consistently overcoming your old self to become that person who is already worthy of and naturally attracts the amazing future you desire.